Hello and welcome back to another episode of Signs Radio. Recently I had some conversations with a handful of mothers. Mothers who are not just mothers, but grandmothers and great-grandmothers too, from all different walks of life. With Mother's Day around the corner, or just past if you're listening later, I wanted to seek the advice and hear the stories of mothers who have walked and survived the stages of having little ones to teenagers to grown-ups with kids of their own. This Mother's Day, take the time to ask a mother their story. You never know what wisdom she'll have for you. Signs Radio, episode 224, The Mothers of the Mothers.
Hi, my name's Rhonda. I've got one son, nearly 50, and two grandchildren, one 22 and one 17 this year.
Lovely. And what has been your favourite experience of being a mother, or your favourite part of being a mum?
I think my favourite part of being a mother was waking up one morning and my son, 2-year-old, coming in and going, "Mummy," so fluent.
Yeah.
It was really lovely. Yeah, that was a good sign. But all of his life was really good for me because him and my husband, ex-husband and I split up when he was 2.
Oh, true. So it's just you and him.
Yeah, so there was only me and him, and I was so glad I had a son because he could help me with the other side of everything, and he was a good son. He used to do everything that he could. He learned how to cook when he was 14. Burnt the kitchen down at the same time.
Literally burnt it down?
Absolutely.
Wow.
He was cooking chips on the on the stove, and I rang him because he'd gone to work experience for the first time, and we were chatting away. He forgot that he took the chips off the stove, put them in the lounge room, forgot that he didn't turn off the oil, and there was a big black ball just hit the wall and it went up. Yeah.
The rest of the house as well, or just the kitchen?
No, because he closed off the doors. In those days we had sliding doors.
Yeah.
And he closed it all off and went across to the guy across the road to see if he had an extinguisher, but it was only a little one, so it couldn't do it. By the time they'd rung me and I got home, there were about 4 fire trucks there and a couple of the cars as well, and you could see, and I was only renting this place, so you could see it had bats in the roof, and you could see the smoke coming up. Anyway, I was standing outside for a while, and then the fireman came and said to me, "Do you want to go for a walk through the house?" And I said, "Oh yeah." And I'm looking around, and I said to him, "What's all this spider webs around?" I said, "There's never been spider webs in my house." And he just looked at me and smiled. He said, "Rhonda, that's plastic." That's what happens to plastic.
True.
Yeah, and the night before, I had a fridge right next to the stove, and the night before I thought I was sick of cleaning the stove after we cooked because everything went on the fridge. So I put Glad wrap on the fridge, and when we had the fire the next day, it cooked everything in the fridge. Yeah,
wow,
everything cooked. Oh yeah, it was an experience, and there was soot everywhere.
Bet he felt bad.
Oh yeah, well I couldn't find him, and I said to the fireman, "Where's my son?" And he said, "Oh, we've taken him to hospital because he's got a bit of smoke inhalation."
Yeah.
But the fireman said, "Oh, he was running around trying to get things together and take them outside." And yeah, he was just looked after it. But anyway, the lady that I rented off, she was so lovely. She sent us flowers and had everything fixed up, and it was just nice. But that's a big one for me to remember.
Yeah, I bet. What did it feel like when you first became a mother? Was it overwhelming, or was it just an exciting period?
Oh no, I think it's overwhelming for every woman because you just don't know what is ahead. You hear other people say things, and in our day we didn't have books, but you really need to hear it from other women. And I heard from my mother, "Rhonda, it's not an easy path." And when I went in and had Troy when I was going through labour, it was mind-blowing. I didn't really, I kept thinking to myself, well, women go back for thirds and fourths, so it must be all right. But
Okay.
I only went back for one.
Yeah. True. Well, are you as close with your son now as you used to be?
Absolutely. Yeah. He's wonderful. Yeah, and the grandkids as well.
Yeah.
They live in Penrith, and I'm here on the Gold Coast. But yeah, they're beautiful. When I go down there, it's just like I only go down once a year, but it's like I've only just saw them yesterday. You know, it's really nice. And my daughter-in-law, she's just a blessing as well.
Yeah. Which season of motherhood has been the most difficult?
Probably when I had to say to Troy, he was 14, and I had to say to him, when did you become the father and I became the daughter? Because at that age, they think they know it all, and it turned it around. So I had to sort of say, I'm still the mother.
Put him in his place.
Yeah, so that was pretty hard.
Do you respond okay?
Oh, yeah. I don't think he even knew what I was talking about, because it just comes natural, that sort of thing, as they get older. And now they're full of wisdom, you know, and they're actually giving you what you need to hear.
Yeah.
Because as you get older, it's nice when they go back to where you were when you first had them. You know, when they were growing up and that you were showing them everything. Now they're giving you their wisdom back to you. Yeah. And often, like, even because I'm selling here, he's had some great words of wisdom for me, so I'm very happy.
Yeah, it's a bit more reciprocal.
Absolutely.
Sense.
Yeah. He's been a real blessing to me, and I always tell him I never get off the phone without saying I love you, and my grandkids never get off the phone without saying they love me. So it's just nice, you know what I mean? I've been very blessed.
How has it been seeing your son then have his own kids?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I can't wait for my 22-year-old to have a child, so I'd be a great grandmother, but he's not ready yet. He's got himself a girlfriend, but they're not ready yet. Yeah.
Sure.
Oh yeah, wonderful. And myself and Nick's mum, we went into the labour. And,
oh, really? You were
and
there?
yeah, it was amazing. And when the first one was born, it was just like as if Troy was born again. And I couldn't believe it when he turned his head on the side, because Nick had real bad pain. So Troy had to put her leg on his hip, and the midwife had to do the same. So I got to take the photos, and I just focused it and took photos and didn't look.
Yeah.
You know, but when he came out, he just looked like Troy.
Yeah.
And I went home, didn't say anything, and I went home and I got Troy's first photo out of the album, because I left all the photos with him when I came up here. And when I put it on the breakfast bar, and when he came home, he said, "Mum, where did you get this photo of Tyler?"
Oh, really?
And I said,
Wow,
"Troy, that's your photo."
Wow.
So we went and put it on the crib, like black and white in the 70s, black and white. So we went and put it on the crib. Oh my goodness, just
Split image.
Oh, spit out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And even today, his wording, he's looking at the same. He's 22, but when Troy was growing up, he looks like Troy now.
Very crazy, very cool. You obviously only see your grandchildren once a year or so, but is there something that you really want to teach them or show them?
Do you know what I've been doing lately? And it's not that I've wanted to do this, it's just happened, that when they ring up, or I ring them, we get on a conversation of my past, and they probably know more about my past than Troy remembers. And they're really interested in the growing up and the early days. Yeah, it's really lovely to have them do that, because it's nice that, you know, they'll have it to pass over. They'll remember, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, very good.
When you look at Troy parenting, you mentioned that you didn't have books and videos and things. Are there other big differences in parenting from when you parented, like things that are now normal that never used to be?
Oh, I think there was a stage where some guy came out with a book that wasn't even a parent, and he was telling them that smacking a child isn't good.
Oh, yeah.
And put them in a corner.
Yeah.
And the thing was that people were putting them in their rooms with their toys and everything, so they weren't learning anything. And I remember once when I lived in Penrith and Troy was only little, and I was in Woolies, and it was, in those days, it wasn't like Woolies now, and they had like a turnstile, and he'd gone under the turnstile and run across the road, and I didn't know at the time, and then I'm looking for him, couldn't find him, and he was across the road with one of those the traffic guys put the
traffic police.
And he was over there, and I went over there, and he was saying to me, like treating me like I was the worst parent in the world, but he'd gone under the turnstile. Anyway, so I went into Woolies and bought a harness for him. And he sat outside Woolies and would not move. I had to take the harness off him before he'd move. And that's how he's been all his life. Very stubborn and like knows his own mind, and it's been good.
It's been good. It's
been good because he sets the pace for the kids as well, to stand by what they believe in and what they want to do, you know. I think Nikki and Troy have been really good parents. You know, they've been really good parents, and I think what you need to do is teach children the 3 R's still, which they don't even know. Parents don't even know those 3 R's anymore. Respect, reliability and responsibility. That's what we used to be taught. And especially when you went to work, you know, like the work ethics was be responsible in your job, be reliable, turn up on time, you know, be respectful to people that are higher than you, like your bosses. Even if you didn't like what they did or what they said, you still respected what they said. I remember on buses and that we didn't have to have signs to say if an elderly person comes on the train or the bus, you know, children need to stand. We didn't need to have those signs because we automatically got up if someone older than us got on the bus. That's how it was, you know.
Yeah, totally. When you were a mum, and obviously you're a single mother as well, what was the most helpful thing? Was it support? Was it getting out and doing things on your own, like having some freedom? Was it sending your kid to school? Was it like what was it that was really helpful in those periods?
I think what was really helpful in that period, because I went through a really bad time with depression, and I was on tablets for a while for that. And I think the main thing was that my family stood beside me, and my mum would take, because Troy never slept for 2 years of his life. That's another one. But anyway, so my sister had a caravan up at the entrance, and she used to take him up there some weekends just for me to get a bit of a break. And I was working at Panthers Leagues Club at the time, and I was working night shift as well, but not getting any sleep as much as you need, and working at night, it was a bit hard. And Mum was good, she used to take him on weekends as well. So without that sort of support, I don't know what I would have been doing, you know.
How did you go when you said you were depressed? How was that parenting as a single mother, having those difficulties?
I think it was hard. Like, it was hard going through, Troy was 2 when I went through the divorce. And when I had him, it was okay. But then as the time went on and the marriage didn't work properly, that's when it started to go downhill. And it was hard, just to get up in the morning was really hard. And it took a long time for me to get rid of that. I think it might have had a bit of that postnatal as well. In those days, they didn't know what postnatal was. No one told me about postnatal, you know. And so I didn't know anything about it. You just carry on, you know, when you've got things going on in your life that you need to do, you just carry on, you just keep going, and you sort of go on this robotic energy to get through the day.
If you could go back to that period and tell your younger self something, what would you?
I'd probably say don't take so much on yourself, you know, because I wanted to be perfect as a mother. I tried to be perfect as a wife, but that didn't work. And I wanted to be a perfect mother. Now these days, perfection is not something that should be thought of, because you can never reach perfect. you can never get to the tip of that iceberg. And the more you try and go uphill to the word perfection, the more steps you take backwards. We try and be the best we can, and sometimes it's more than what we can give, And if you give too much, then you've got nothing left in the tank for yourself. And that's where I think depression starts to come into it, because you've got no time to relax and build yourself back up again for the next day. You're just constantly moving around.
Over the different periods of having kids, your role as a mother kind of changes. But what do you think the main goal of a mother is?
I think the main goal is to always be there for your kids and always show them the love. That was one big thing for me, because I didn't get that in my family, and so I swore when I was 12-year-old that I would never ever not show my kids love, and that's what I did, and over and abundantly probably. But yeah,
not a bad thing.
And these days, like I said, he never gets off the phone without saying "love your mum," and the kids never say it. He never get off without saying it either. So
lovely.
Something that's happened, but and it makes you feel so good when you hear your little grandkids saying, when they get off the phone, when they were little, they used to say, "Love you, Grandma, love you, Grandma." It was so cute. Yeah. It makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah, love it. What does your life look like now that you don't have little ones running around?
Oh my goodness, my life. My life is single.
Yeah.
I've been single since Troy was 17. I've had a few relationships in between, but it's been 21 years now, and I'm sitting in a place where I can look around and go, wow, I'm happy where I am. I'm happy what I'm doing. I'm retired now, and I can do whatever I like, and I'm on the pension, so you've got money coming in, so you don't have to worry. And I think at like from 70, which I'm 71, I think there's more, you think about more than life, than just going through life. You appreciate life every day. I always say to my son, when he'll ring me, text me in the morning, or I'll text him or whatever, and he'll say, "How you going?" and I'll always say, I'm so grateful to God that I wake up in the morning and my 2 feet are on the ground. So that's a big thing for me now. And so, I think,
is that especially after your stroke?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And I think too, you learn. When you're younger, you just go through life because you've got so much ahead of you, But as you get older, you haven't got that much ahead of you. You've got more behind you than you have ahead of you. And I think that's when we start to really appreciate life and where we are in life, and that we're still here, because there's many people that haven't made it. I just feel that I'm blessed that I'm still here with my feet on the ground.
Nice. We're glad to have you here, Phil. Cool. Doing well.
Yeah.
Make it to 100?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm Nerida Kulik, and we have 3 children and 10 grandchildren.
And do you remember what it was like when you first became a mother?
It was just like the best thing. It's almost a spiritual time to have a baby, and all 3 children. It's just something's very, very special that no one can take away from you. And it's sad about the men because they never
get to experience it. What do you mean by it's a spiritual time?
It's almost sacred.
Okay.
It's something you cannot explain. Yeah, it's just a beautiful experience to have. You have this bump and then suddenly it's out, and then you've just got this love, instant love for this child.
Another woman said, she's like, everyone tells you, but it's not until you actually have one that you
That's right.
realise it. Yeah. Is there a period of being a mother that you really cherish, or that was your favourite?
The children, when they're little, they're just really needy of you. And when they're babies, you get exhausted, and then they're toddlers, and they're just so cute and that. But when they're adults, they become a friend, and it's almost like you're an equal, or you start looking up to them. Yeah.
How has it been seeing your kids have kids themselves?
It's been such a joy, and everyone would say to you that being a grandparent is better than a parent, but it's just totally different. You've got time for them more, because as a parent, you're running around working or running the house, whereas as a grandparent, you're just there and you can just enjoy them. And I can remember when my kids started having their own children, and I would do a lot of babysitting so that they could work. And so whenever I had them, I would just spend all day with them. Just take them along the beach, and every day we'd have our own little routine, and they'd have their little buckets and we'd pick up broken glass and clean up the beach and things like this. And then we'd bring the glass home and we'd make things out of them, little projects.
Was there something when you were a young mum that you found particularly helpful in, you mentioned when they were really young, you were just trying to provide and work and help support them. Was there something that was really helpful for you during that season?
I was really fortunate because I didn't have to actually have a paying job when they were little. So I was always home for them. And they would say when they walked from the bus stop, especially on a Friday, they could smell my cooking.
Nice. So that's a highlight of theirs.
Yeah.
Is there something you really want to teach them in your time with them or pass on to them?
Yeah. We're very conscious of teaching them the love of Jesus. Listen to your parents, listen to us, because we've got many more years on you, and we're very objective. I know as a young child you don't see the future, you don't see the bigger picture, but as you get older you see it and you think, oh, if only I've done this, or only I've done that with my kids, or so with your grandkids you can do that too.
Do you feel like with your kids and your grandkids you've built a relationship where they find it easy to, because I'm sure some people just wouldn't feel comfortable, or they're not super open with their parents or their grandparents.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you've built that with your children?
Well, not all of them, but we've always been big talkers with our kids, especially my husband. And, there's no holds bar. But as the generations go, it depends on those parents if they talk with their kids. I wasn't as much a talker as my husband, but we still talked. But now I'm more open. But, yeah.
That you were just quieter?
Yeah, I suppose you're just busy looking after your family, feeding them and running house and all that. Yeah. Yeah. It's a hard one.
Yeah. What is this stage of motherhood like for you?
It's lovely, actually. Yeah. A senior person. There's good in every stage of life. Probably the worst thing, though, is your health. If you do something stupid like I've done.
Fall on the concrete.
Yeah. But I think the older you get, you know where you're going. You're not afraid of the end of life, or you're not, you've got a sure hope and just no doubt that there's a God. You
become more sure of what you believe. Yeah. Was there something about how your parents raised you that you were like, I really want to raise my parents this same way?
Well, there was a little bit of bickering in the family, and my parents never sat down and chatted to me. So I suppose that made me, when I met Peter, and I just love that about him, and I love that about his mother. His mother was like that. When I was courting him, I'd go to their place and she'd sit me down across a table like this, give me a drink and a piece of cake or something, and just ask me, just throw these questions at me all the time, and just to get to know me. And I loved that about the whole family, and his aunts were the same.
Really present.
Very, yeah. But they were New Australians too.
They were New Australians.
I don't know if that's anything to do with it, but...
Where were they from before?
They were originally from China, but originally Russia.
True.
They're Russian,
Yeah, okay. Huh. Is there anything in particular that you want to say about motherhood?
I feel sorry for those that don't have children. And I think the bigger the family, the nicer it is. We only had 3, but
Why is that? Why do you think the bigger the family, the nicer?
I think there's just more dynamics. And I think if you look at a family with just one child, they're more self-consumed than a larger family that has to share. And I just look around me at large families and, I mean, no one's perfect, but there's more giving and working together, I suppose. It's hard with education and cost. But you look at third world countries and they just have multiple children.
Yeah.
And they just manage. You know, and the kids help.
The kids help raise the kids and raise the kids. What do you think the main role of a mother is?
Main role is to give your child the love of God, I reckon.
What does the love of God look like?
We know that God is love, so we love our children and we try to show them to love others and to be giving, to look outward and not inward. Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
Awesome, okay. You don't have to answer this if you are comfortable. Do you mind me asking how old you are?
I'm just 70.
70, nice.
Yeah.
Doing awesome.
My name is Dawn. I have 3 children and 10 grandchildren.
It's a fair few. How old's your oldest grandchild, do you know?
My oldest grandchild is 26.
26, and your youngest?
Youngest would be 12.
And you also look after Jess?
Yeah, Jess has Down syndrome and we've looked after her since she was 4 years old. Yeah. She's now 25.
So you're still mothering in a sense?
Yes. Yeah.
And how old were you when you first became a mum?
I was 21.
21? How was that being a mum for the first time? Was it exciting? Was it completely overwhelming? Or?
No, it was good.
Yeah.
In those days, back then, you had children early. Nowadays, they're waiting much older to have children. Yeah.
It's like me, I'm 31. No kids. What season of being a mother has been your favourite?
Well, I think just seeing them grow up into be decent human beings, and they haven't been any trouble. They've been good kids, yeah.
When you were a mother back in your younger days, what was most difficult? Was there anything that was particularly helpful when you were a mum?
You didn't get much support in those days. You just got in and did it.
Yeah. What is a memory that you have with your children that you really cherish?
Well, when they would go to church, but they've all sort of stopped going now, but it was good when they were little, they'd come to church. They had kind of no option then because I took them there. Jess was only a toddler then, and I used to have to chase her all around the church because she wouldn't stay still. She'd
still having to chase
up and down all the alleyways or the aisles of the church, shaking hands with people.
Yeah. And has your relationship changed from when they were kids to now?
Yeah. My son has now decided he wants to become a Christian, and he wants to get baptised. He's talking about getting baptised in May.
Is there anything you would have, as a parent, done differently?
Well, in my family, there was nobody ever said I love you or hugged you or anything like that. It was so now I've tried to change that from my perspective. You know, telling the kids you love them and giving them a hug, and because we never got that.
So you have 10 grandchildren.
Yep.
Is there something that you would like to pass on to them?
Just to be good people, to be kind and respectful and love God.
What do you think is the role of being a mother?
The role of being a mother, just to guide them through life.
You mentioned that you still look after Jess. Do you look after her full-time or just a few days full-time?
Yeah.
How is that for you? A lot of people, they think about having young kids or they're a parent for a certain amount of time and then they get their freedom back sort of thing, but you've kind of just continued to be a mother for decades.
Yes. When their parents split up, all the kids went down with their mother, and I was really devastated because I was really close with my grandson, and so I think I cried for about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then out of the blue, we got a phone call from the mother's mother, the other grandmother, saying that the mum wasn't coping, and would we be open to taking 2, possibly 3 of the children. I was really overjoyed at that because I'd missed the connection with my little grandson. So when they were 4 and 5, they came to live with us.
Yeah. What has been the challenges having a Down syndrome child?
She's good, but you have to give her time. You can't just tell her something and expect her to do it straight away. You've got to allow her time to do things. Sometimes she can be quite stubborn, but basically she's a good kid. She helps out in the kitchen. Sometimes she doesn't want to, but
Yeah. She's lovely. We love Jess. She's got a big heart.
Yeah, she's a good girl.
What does this season of motherhood look like for you?
I just being here and seeing Jess through, trying to stay healthy and be here for Jess as long as I can.
Awesome. Do you have anything that if you were to go back and talk to your younger mother self and give her some advice, what would you tell her?
Well, I've been married twice. The first marriage broke up. I would say to that young mum that I should have gone through counselling and worked it out.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you would have sought help?
Yeah, I didn't seek help. I should have.
Yeah.
And just worked through that marriage.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Cherry and I have 4 children and 11 grandchildren.
Awesome. When you first became a mother, what was that experience like for you?
It was a bit scary. I was very young. I was 20, maybe 21, but I was very young. Like when I see these days, you know, normally people start a lot older than that, but so it was a bit scary. But I think you've just got to find your way, and I find that a lot of people want to offer you advice, but it's all conflicting, so it doesn't really help that much. Like you take the good things, but you've got to decide basically yourself, and each child is different as well, so not everything applies to all children. So
is there an example that comes to mind when you say there's like conflicting?
Oh well, feeding, you know, some, and like for instance, the nurses in the hospital, they have to have boiled water, and then other people say no, don't give them boiled water, and you know, oh, but they need it. No, they don't. Like it's just so you've just got to work it out yourself.
So your mother's instinct comes in.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I was haggard though. Like I was changing nappies every time the baby wet the nappy. I would change it, and it was like through the night, whatever. I would feed her, put it down to sleep at night. She wet her nappy, so I'd get her up, I'd change the nappy, put her back down again, and then then I'd have to feed her back to sleep. You know, just got so run down and so tired, and I remember thinking I would pay someone $1 million if I could just sleep through one night.
I bet.
Yeah.
Well, during that period where things were really hard, was there anything that was particularly helpful for you at the time?
Not really.
You just had to. Well, how did you get through that? Was it like, aside from like, obviously you loved your child, that being a motivator?
Yeah, you just have to take one day at a time. It's the only thing you can do.
Yeah. Would you say that was probably the most difficult period of motherhood, or was another one?
Yeah, definitely that time, the first baby. A lot of it too, because I really didn't know what I was doing. You sort of learn after the first one, and then you get to the second one, you sort of know a bit more. Yeah,
I was talking to someone earlier this morning, and she reminded me that they didn't have YouTube or
we didn't even have disposable nappies or anything. It was hard work.
Different era. Hey, what on the contrast, what has been the most rewarding part about being a mother? What's the best period, do you think, that you've experienced?
I think when the kids were at school, like they they all did really well at school, and there was just so many proud moments, and just growing up with them as well, and just enjoying. I think that was one good thing about being a young mum. I was able to get out there and do stuff, and we played touch football together. We had a team. Our whole family was a team, and you know, just doing stuff with them, and just I really enjoyed it. After the initial, you know, getting through that first year or so, I really enjoyed motherhood. I loved it.
Would you say that's maybe one of the memories you cherish most is playing football, or is there other memories that you really
there's
like?
so many. I love breastfeeding. Breastfeeding my babies. It's just a beautiful bonding. Yeah, just a blessing to be able to do that. I know some people are unable to, but just for me that was a wonderful blessing. And when the last one finished, I missed it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm never going to be able to do this again. You know, I really missed that. So.
What was it about it that you loved so much?
It was just a time, and I guess because you can't really do anything else, and I'd just lie there on the bed and just feed them, and it was just a time to chill out and just relax and just enjoy being with your baby, and it was,
How has it been, you obviously have children who have children, so you're a grandma, how has it been seeing your children then become parents themselves?
Yeah, it's fantastic, but it's also difficult because again, you know, you try to offer them advice, and they either take it or leave it. And when they decide not to take your advice, and you know what the consequences are going to be, and then you have to watch them suffer through those consequences, it's very difficult. Yeah. But yeah, it's been a great experience as well. Just having grandchildren is great and enjoyable.
Do you spend a lot of time with your grandchildren?
I try to as much as I can. But obviously with them, when they live a long way away, I can't get down to see them that often. I'd love to spend more time with them. One's up here, like I've been actually living with one of my daughters for the last 2 years, so, and she's got 2 boys, my 2 oldest grandchildren, 16 and 13. So yeah, I've been living with them. So that's
seen
been
them heaps.
Yeah. So they've had their quota.
If you were to go back and give your younger mother self some advice, what would you give her? Well,
surprisingly enough, my kids have learnt a lot of things, and the way that they've done things I wish that I had have done that as well. Sleep training, I never knew about that, but my second oldest daughter, when her firstborn was born, she would black out the windows, and I think the other thing that I would have done is, like, every time they cried, I'd go and pick them up and stop them crying, but you don't have to do that. And I didn't know that. And to sleep train them, you have to let them cry at first. You know, if they've been fed, they've had their nappy change, everything's comfortable, there should be really no reason for them to cry. And if they cry, they'll cry for a little while and then they'll go to sleep. But if they don't, like if they keep crying and crying, then you know that there's something wrong. It's just understanding their language, I guess. And apparently they have different cries for different things, which I never knew. So
the power of knowledge. Hey,
absolutely. And when you don't have enough sleep, and you're cranky with everyone else, and it just makes life very difficult.
How has your relationship with your children changed over the years, from now you're both adults? Does it still feel like they're your little babies, or do you feel like more friends these days?
Well, friends, as well. They never stop being your babies, and especially when they're sick and you can't do anything. Like, just you just want to be there, you want to do, and you just can't, and that's really difficult. Because they're still your babies, and you're still their mum, and you still want to look after them, and you still want them to be happy and healthy, and you know that never stops. So
what do you think mothers' roles should be, just in general?
I think more of probably a mentor. All you can do, like I say, is give them advice, and you say, well, this is what worked for me, and then it's up to them to decide. But you can't really do any more than that, and just support them, like, no matter what. Sometimes they make really bad decisions, and they have to go through stuff, but all they really need from you is to know that you're with them, that you're backing them up, and that you're supporting them.
Is your
Yeah.
mother still alive?
No, she passed away about 4 years ago. She was 92.
Did she pass on any nuggets of motherhood to you when you...
Well, the biggest nugget she gave me was getting to know God. Like, she loved
Yeah.
God. Yeah. Her marriage broke up because she went to the Worldwide Church of God, and my dad, they both went, and then he stopped attending, and then he sort of went very worldly and then said, you have to choose between the church and me. And she chose the church. So she chose God, which was, she was an amazing example of a woman of faith, and I think that was the biggest thing that she's passed on to me.
Is there anything you're enjoying about the stage of motherhood you're in now?
Just the grandchildren. Every year we get together for we call it Festivus. We don't do Christmas Day. We let everyone else go to the other families on Christmas Day, and then a few days later we'll get together and go have a Festivus. That's off Seinfeld.
I know the reference. You're a Seinfeld family.
Yes. And and just everyone being together is the best. I think it's the best time of the whole year. Just all being together and having fun and doing stuff together, playing board games, and just it's an amazing time. So and nothing beats that. Like everything else and I do in my life, nothing compares to the happiness and joy that I have at when we're together. So
you guys are a board game family.
Oh yeah.
I remember going camping with you.
Yeah.
You guys a while ago, and you loved it. It's good. Is there something you want to pass on to your grandchildren?
God. And I wish that I had done more without my children.
You wish you'd done more with your
more
children?
prayer, more Bible study, just spend more time with God with them. But it was a pretty rough time because we belonged to a church that fell apart. So I didn't leave the church left me pretty much. They changed all of their beliefs and said everything you've learnt over the last 30 years is wrong, and you've got to try to forget that and then believe this. And we just didn't know where we stood. It was like the rug had been pulled out from under our feet, and so we stopped going to church at all. And so pretty much, I just sort of drifted away.
That was when you had younger kids as well.
Yeah. So I was early 30s, so it was a really crucial time for our children at that age. Which going back, that's definitely one thing I would change. I would not let them neglect God, the way that I did, but just stay close to God no matter what.
Awesome. What does this season of life look for you?
It's good and it's not. Like, it's nice to have freedom from that stress. But at the same time, I guess it gets a bit lonely too, especially when they move away and you don't see them very often. But again, just knowing God and having the church family is a huge, I don't know how people survive without it. And just, really, you just change your focus, I guess. And now that becomes my life, is trying to help people and encourage people in the church family. I have been enjoying my travelling, so that's awesome. One good thing that you can do when you don't have children. Many people can actually travel overseas with children,
with a bunch of kids.
It makes it very difficult. So I would advise people to go before they have children, or wait till after the children are grown up, or at least can look after themselves. Yeah.
Awesome. To start with, how many children do you have and how many grandchildren do you have?
So I have 3 boys, all married, and 2 granddaughters. One is 4 months and one is 3 months.
How are you finding being a grandparent so far?
Oh, it's better than being a parent. Everyone will say that. I guess because you have them for a shorter time, maybe you think that you are wiser.
Yeah.
And definitely from back then, when I had my children, like my oldest one is 42, times have changed. And there's so much parenting rules or advice nowadays that you think, it's overwhelming, but it's just going back to basics. And no, it's good.
Is there any advice that you've seen since your kids have had kids that you wish you had have known when you were a mum?
I wish I had more equipment, because what I had a cot, a pram, and the milk bottle. That's it. I didn't have anything else. There was nothing.
Yeah.
It was during communism. So nowadays is not even nappies. So I had my in-laws bringing from Austria because they were visiting their daughter. Now and then a packet of nappies, and they were keeping it for Saturdays. It was a big day to have a nappy and
Wow. So the rest of the days you just had a cloth? Or?
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. So nowadays I can say that is much easier in that respect with all these gadgets around and makes your life easier. But other than that, it goes back to basics. Everyone is sort of, the babies are the same. We were learning from my mothers and from the grandmothers, telling you what to do. There was nothing, no books around or no internet or Instagram or something. Everything what your aunties were telling you, mothers and grandmothers. So, but it's. I guess it will be more challenging for them to grow up with all this technology around. We have a TV back then, so it wasn't that problem. Nowadays, you have the phone in your hand. They will see when you take a picture, they go straight away. They go, and I don't know. I think they see the camera.
Yeah.
They see the dots here, and they are
hooked.
Yes, they are hooked.
Yeah, different challenges,
So
different
times. Yeah, different. I think it's going to be, the parenting is going to be more challenging than back in my days.
And so you mentioned communism. So you raised your children. Were you in Romania when you raised your children?
There are 1.5, the youngest, then 3.5 and 5.5 when they left.
Okay.
We left them behind because we're not allowed to live together. So we just left as tourists, and the boys came 5 months later. We left during communism, but after we left, 5 months later, communism fell.
Huh.
So the boys came just when during those changes.
So you came to Australia?
No, we stayed in Austria.
Oh, you went to Austria?
We stayed in Austria.
Just you and your husband?
Yes.
And then the kids stayed with your grandparents?
They came, for 5 months.
Yeah.
And while we applied to come to Australia, we stayed the whole time. It was 1 year in Austria, but the boys came 5 months later.
Was that quite difficult? Because I'm assuming you didn't know it was just going to be 5 months.
Because even when I think now, it's heartbreaking, and I think they're the hardest moments to leave them behind. But I had to go ahead with this decision because I knew that we have a problem with having school on Saturdays and with army. And as a Christian, to do army, they were making your life so difficult. We had school on Saturdays.
So was it from Monday to Saturday?
To Saturday, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, only Sunday off. That was the schooling, and then army, it was compulsory. 1.5 years if you didn't go to uni, but if you passed the exams and you went to uni, it was only 9 months. But you do the training first, the military training first, and then you go to uni.
Yeah, so
I think I can't go with 3 boys through this. So these were my 2 main reasons. And we could leave because my husband's sister was married in Austria, and then they went to New Zealand. That's why they let us go.
Sure.
Sort of is not. At that time they came back to Romania to do medicine, but after 1 year they changed their mind. And the government didn't know, the authorities didn't know that. And we left while they were still in Romania with the family, with the 2 daughters, and then they had another boy in Romania.
Yeah.
And otherwise they would have not let us go together. We went to Austria. I went by myself, and my husband by himself, but not together, because they knew that if we go together, we won't go back. Yeah.
So
but this time they didn't know that his sister was going to go back and not stay in Romania for another 5 years.
Yeah. So was everyone quite poor when you were in your area?
You can't say that people were poor, but you didn't have, even if you had money, you had nothing to eat. There was no much
in the supermarkets. They didn't have the resources in the supermarkets.
In the supermarkets, because the country was drained just to build a big palace that is now is one of the biggest in Europe. I think it's the third one. And there was not much for people to eat. We had to queue for butter, bread, milk, for essentials, oil, and every family had like 1 liter of oil per person per month. So now because we are 5,
So you had like rations.
quite ration. Yeah, we are quite fortunate to have 5 liters of oil a month.
Yeah. It was per
person.
individual. Huh. Okay.
And everything, sugar. I think it was only salt and some marmalade in the shops.
Not much.
Not much.
Yeah.
Not much.
Yeah,
We are
crazy.
actually relying a lot on the markets, on the the people from the countryside are bringing fresh stuff, and cheeses and eggs and but olives and stuff like this.
Didn't happen. So interesting. Do you remember what it was like having your first child?
Well, so back then there was no ultrasound, so we didn't know for any of them what I was going to have.
Yeah, okay.
So first one, it was actually on a Saturday morning, and water broke at 5 o'clock in the morning. So went to the hospital, and even now they are not allowed family to go in. So
Not even your husband?
no.
Huh.
I think he was working in another town back then, and that's why. But even with the others, no. And every time I gave birth, the second one again, he was on duty.
Yeah.
And if you're on duty, you don't leave and you go because your wife has given birth. And with the third one, it was in a different city.
Yeah.
And again, he wasn't there. But no, and
I don't mean particularly how was the birth, but I mean like the first experience of having a child.
Well, I got married at 18 and I had the first child at 19. So it was, back then it was a bit unusual to have a child so, when you're so young. So I didn't tell my friends until I was showing that I had a child, because I don't know, I felt like I was ashamed. You are married, there was nothing to be ashamed of. But I think it was the communist mentality. People were not so happy as they are here.
Yeah.
I don't think that I have a picture of being
really?
pregnant.
They were more stressed about life? Or?
Yeah. I guess that's why it was, and it was all 3 of them. Because it was all of them, it was during communism, and it was like having 3 children, it was like you're having a lot of children, too many.
Yeah.
Too many to take care of, because the times were hard.
Were really difficult. Yeah. Throughout your years of motherhood, would that have been the most difficult period, or was there another period that was something else that you particularly struggled with?
I had my mother's support, so I can't say that I struggled because we didn't have formulas. So you had to know someone to get one. Even if they had an upset tummy, there was a formula that has bananas in it, and I even remember now.
You mean like medication and medicines and things?
Yeah, like it was a formula so that it will stop the child having diarrhea. And for everything, you have to know someone to get it. So it was in that regard, it was a struggle. But other than that, I think I do remember it was nice having all of them. It was just looking back, I do have nice memories and nice moments. But it was a struggle because everything you had to wash. We didn't have even an automatic washing machine.
Yeah.
We didn't have hot water every night because it was a night when you had hot water only twice a day. So if I was at my parents' place, because I stayed upstairs, we had our apartment there. We had water all the time. But if then I moved, it was more restricted.
Yeah.
So in that regard, it was a struggle. And because you had to cook everything from scratch.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, I go into the supermarket and I buy these dips and olives and make some, something nice, quick
Everything took time.
Everything took time. Everything took time.
If you could go back to your younger self and tell her something, what would you tell her? Would there be any encouragement, or would you give her some kind of advice or hope for the future?
I think the best decision was to leave Romania. I still think that it was stressful, it was hard to live because there was no internet, there was, everyone was like, when we left, my parents were almost dead to them because it was that separation and the relationship, and we were very close.
So they were really upset with you for leaving?
They knew why we left, but they were just sad because they wouldn't see their grandchildren, wouldn't see us, and they didn't know when they would see us
would
next,
happen
because
again.
it was during communism. Little did they know that communism will leave, and now that everyone is here, my parents, my brother, my sister.
Yeah.
So even the phone call, we couldn't afford to make a phone call. When the children were small, I think I did all I could as a young mother because I was a stay-home mom. So because my father was a GP, was a doctor. He earned enough to sustain us. And I didn't have to work. Actually, I got married just after I finished high school, so I didn't have any training. I did my nursing training here in Australia. I gave
it everything.
100% for back then, for what I knew back then, and for And plus, as I said, you always have the support of your parents. My mother, my mother-in-law was a very nice lady, and your family around, because it's we had certain days when we knew that some aunties were visiting.
Yeah.
So we were making cakes and some tea when it was the winter time, and we're knitting, and we showed them the babies, the children, and it was that close community or relationship that I liked.
Yeah.
And
have you felt like you've had that still coming to Australia?
we try to maintain it in the way that I have my family around. My brother no, he's in Victoria, but my sister is here, my sister-in-law is here, my
3 kids are here.
my children are within walking distance.
Yeah. I have noticed that about your family. You are very close.
We are close, so we have Friday nights dinner, most Saturday we have lunch. And now with the granddaughters, it's so easy. It's just driving. If I walk, it's 20 minutes. I drive is 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that is, I guess I'm fortunate. And I didn't, not that I didn't realize, I knew that, but now and then someone says to me, do you realize how fortunate you are that you have everyone so close to you?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And I was thinking, like, from time to time, you do think, what would I do different? And I don't think that there are many things that I've changed. I'm glad I had them early, because then coming here, we got busy with studying.
Yeah.
And but everyone is different, it depends on the circumstances. It just happened that,
Yeah, it's good. It's good that you can say that.
I'm just glad, because back then, it was just, I guess, the time to grow up the children.
Different times.
Yeah, different times. Yeah.
Is there a moment that you really cherish with your children, whether as young kids or as adults?
It was the holidays that we had.
Holidays, nice. In Australia or even back in Romania?
No, back in Romania we didn't have holidays because actually there was no petrol.
Oh, really?
No, so I can't say.
How did you get around? Did you have
It was limited.
Okay, yeah.
It was
the same with the food.
Exactly. So I could get from to my parents' place, which was an hour away because we had to move. So, and probably we go to the capital city, to Bucharest now and then, and to the Black Sea, to the beach, which was like half a day trip with all the, the roads, and there were no good roads back then. Coming here, well, it took us quite a few years, 7 years, until we went back to Romania. And then, I got a job, my husband got a job. He did his last 3 years of medicine again here, so he got an Australian diploma. And we were looking forward because my parents were still there. My brother and sister were still in Romania. My mother did come here a couple of times, and he went back with good news, and she convinced everyone to
come.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then slowly they did come. So I guess all the holidays that we had together, I think they were the best because you are relaxed, you are in holiday mode.
Is there a favorite holiday that comes to mind?
Oh, there are so many. But probably the best ones were the ones that when their cousin could join.
Okay.
And there was a bigger group, so they didn't have to stay just with us.
Like your
So they
cousins
had
from
their
Romania?
No, the cousins from here.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Awesome. When they all came over.
Yeah, we are going from here, or they're coming later, or joining the trip. So they had someone their age. Especially the older they grew, then they started saying, maybe we might not come with you this year.
And they probably weren't your favorite too.
We're not that cool. You're too old to come with us. But yeah, we had good times, and definitely going back to Romania. And we tried to keep all those ties with the family back then to reconnect. And so they went back and they got to know their uncles, their aunties, their cousins back then. Customs. They loved it. They loved it. It was different. It was so exotic for them going back to Romania and
Really?
seeing all these,
All the
different
changes
ways of.
and-
But
Yeah.
even when we started going back, the changes are not that evident. You could see there are still horse carts on the roads, and just a different mentality. People talking to you in the queue, just telling you in a few minutes their life story. Everyone, it was just they found that very interesting. So so we try to maintain the relationship with the extended family.
How has it been seeing your kids now have kids? Is it,
Well, it's nice to see the parenting skills, and definitely it was time for them to have children.
much later than you, I suppose.
Oh, definitely, but different times.
Different,
Everyone,
for sure. Is there something you're excited to teach your grandchildren?
Oh,
or
I've
do?
already started buying educational books.
Yeah.
I just don't want any story. Just of course, the Bible stories, and then any educational books about solar system, plants, animals.
Is that something that's really important to you? Education?
Yeah. I prefer to read about to them, or about some plants or animals, or a Bible story, than just going and read just a story from a storybook, another story about a cat or a dog.
You want to raise smart kids?
That's what I think. And I think I will take them to get some self-defense lessons.
Self-defense lessons.
Go for that anyway. But that's on my
funny.
a priority for me. As soon as they are old enough, as girls, I think they should know to defend themselves.
Protect themselves, for sure.
And going to church, I think that's the most important thing. We try to keep a connection with the church. And I remember, even now, my mother, if I talk to her on Sunday, they will ask me, "Did you go to church yesterday?" So that would be her first, because I don't know, coming from Romanian culture, going to church is very important.
Yeah.
And I grew up not missing church unless you're sick. That was the mentality.
Yeah, sure.
And going on Friday night to church, and on Saturday from 8:30 to 12. Then later on, when I was old enough, we were having choir practices. And then in the afternoon, we had again 1 hour church, either a musical program or again different programs.
Yeah.
So I guess I grew up with that mentality that church is church. It's like you go to a job, you have to go unless you're sick. In a way, I think it helped.
I think it's stuck. All your sons go to church.
I think I think it's stuck with them, and it's nice that you can have a conversation with them about anything in the Bible, and they would like to open a discussion about religious matters or issues that they will have a concern or So I think that's important. Not that church will protect you from
The world, yeah.
anything, but I guess it helps to
That
stay
support
close,
and stay close.
and to have friends in the church. Of course, you can't have only friends in the church, but it does help.
Yeah.
It does.
Totally, yeah. Are you enjoying anything in particular about this stage of motherhood you're in?
Well, I think I'm still youngish.
Yeah.
To help them around
Yeah.
with the girls, and I can't wait for them. To.
Do you mind me asking how old you are?
I'm turning 62 next
nice.
month.
Doing well.
So that I'm looking forward to teach the girls a few things, and to take them to Sabbath school. And making cookies.
Yeah,
Usually I don't make cookies, so this time I have to learn.
I'm sure you'll kill it. You're a great cook. Maybe last question is, was there any piece of advice that someone gave you about motherhood that has been helpful? Or anything that your mum taught you that you really wanted to kind of carry on?
I think it's spending time as much as you can with your child and doing your best. Looking back, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're happy that you've put 100%, I think the reward, it will come, the reward. I think we all get caught up in doing things because life is busy, but that's to prioritize. Even now, I'm looking at my window and say, they look disgusting, but I either stay home and clean the windows or I go out with my granddaughters. So I am prioritizing a lot this time, and I think back then I didn't use prioritize. I don't think it was in my vocabulary.
Sure.
But when I think, that was what I was doing, and
Yeah.
that was what everyone was saying.
Yeah.
And plus, we didn't have all these distractions. Media. No, there was no. I mean, we later on had the TV, so everything it was just talking to people in the park when you take your children to have a play with the other children. So it was just connecting with people. There was no other distraction. So nowadays
It's a bit harder, but it's still...
going to be harder because this is with you everywhere, and it's going to be different, more challenging.
Yeah.
As a parent, it to be, and the parents have to be aware of the child, and they are aware.
Yeah.
But I guess it's just hard.
Still difficult.
It's hard, yeah.
Well, my name is Gillian, and I have been married for 54 years, and we had 4 children, and now we have 12 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. And I spent a lot of time with especially 2 of the little ones that live next door, and they come for breakfast, they come for dinner, they come for homework, and they come to play, to have someone to cry to. So I do still have a lot of mothering.
And you, in a way, are still parenting because you still have your grandchildren very close and you're very active in their lives.
Yeah.
Which is really awesome. It's so sweet.
Yes, it's being available. Children love, they don't care if you're old, they don't care if you can't even do much. They just somebody who's available, someone who is interested in them, who wants to spend time with them.
And you got a bit of a commune here.
We have our son and his wife and 2 children on one side. Then up the hill we have another son with his wife, and they had 4 children. Now they've got a grandchild as well. And then on the other side we have my daughter and her husband, and she has 4 children, but 2 are grown up, and then 2 of her children live in our house.
Was that always like a dream to live?
I went to New Guinea when I was young on a surfing trip, and I just felt at home when I went to the village, and it was just so community. I wasn't alone, and everything you did was together. And to me, the secret of raising children is to be together, to be with them. The more you're with them, the more time you're with them, the more you can influence them towards a greater good.
Do you remember what it was like when you first became a mother?
Yes, I do, because I was very young, and
How old were you when you
I was 16
Wow.
when I first became a mum, but I just loved it. I used to bath her a couple of times a day because I just liked looking after her. It was just like, back in those days, 16 was a fairly normal age to get married. And it wasn't as bad as now. And as growing up in those times, your only goal was to be a wife and mother. You didn't think you were going to buy a car or get a career. You were just going to be a wife and mother. And I just really loved it. I just enjoyed it. I felt like this was my fit. And even now, I say to God, the only talent I have is to love children. And so that's why we had God's cabin, and He brought me broken, grown-up children to look after and love, and that's what they needed.
I think a lot of people can say about you that even if they're not related to you, you're like a very motherly figure. So even outside of your family, I think you...
Well, I had a big Cook Islander guy come here just last week.
True.
And so he came over and chatted with me because he was staying in Joel's house, and he started calling me Mum. Not very long, only a couple of days he was calling me Mum.
Yeah, sweet. Is there a memory or a moment that you can remember that you really cherish about being a mum?
I'd say that what I loved the most was when you have a newborn and there's just all this love in your heart for this little tiny thing that really actually doesn't bring anything except a lot more work, but you have so much love for them that you wouldn't want to be anywhere else, and it just feels like a privilege to bathe them and care for them and lie down with them and feed them, and as you talk to them and connect with them, I'd say that they were the happiest times because they're all yours. There's no conflict. You can make their life like there was no sin because the outside influences aren't there, and you can just love on them, and you're not going to spoil them with love at that stage.
Yeah, totally.
And so parenting is really letting God flow through you to that person, because every child is different. You can't have a set rule, and you don't know what they need. And I've never raised two children that required the same thing. So it's really just walking with God. And as you walk with God, you take that atmosphere of heaven where you are. But entertainment is a thorn. It's one of the thorns that Jesus said would keep you from the Word. And it's in the stillness and it's in the quietness. And Ellen White says that the quieter the life of a child, the better. And if they're helping, because even animals know that I've got to raise this cub to be able to go out there and survive. But we don't do that. We entertain them and make them selfish and lazy and entitled and don't teach them how to live. So there's bringing them to God and walking them in ways that are helpful, that they learn to work hard and they learn to give. Because happiness is not in the entertainment. It's not in those things. And we need to train our children to say, birthdays are about a day where you can give to someone, because that's the happiest place. Why aren't we teaching them that the happiest place is where you give the most? And so that's sort of like probably not popular, but it works. It really works. Because the happiest my little grandson has ever been is when he was totally caring for me and busy working and trying to help his grandma live. And you can see it in them. If they're naughty and sort of like unsettled and sort of like they've got ADHD or something, well, if you get them working with you, people are inclined to give them a job, but that's not what God does. You work with them and you make it joyful. And so as you work with them and they're helping you and you're God's kingdom is a kingdom of praise. So there's this law of kindness and encouragement in that place. Then Ellen White says they should want to be with you because you bring this atmosphere of heaven. Yeah. And so as you're teaching them to work, they get happier and they get more content. Yeah.
I'm curious to know, like, when you were raising your children, obviously they didn't have things like television and other entertainment. What were some of the things you raised them?
Well, when I was younger, I didn't know these things. You don't learn everything at 16. You start out saying you're a wife and saying you're a mother, but you don't know anything. So that's why you're so gentle on your daughters-in-law.
Yeah. But I do see with your grandchildren, I know when I was living up there.
Yeah. Yes.
You would take them out surfing a lot, or you could
the thing that you've always got to think, which things are going to lead them closer to God? What's going to draw them away? And so that's your ideal, to have things, but you've got to have their desire. And so that's where prayer for them really comes in, that they'll have a desire.
Yeah.
And so we started doing prayer journals. With kids, you do it differently. Like when I prayed all night with kids, we do reading a text, singing songs together, praying, and then they'll draw what they learnt. So you're engaging them in what they relate to. Or we washed each other's feet. We did activities. And or you can do origami and try and create things that God created, but then you make it with paper. And so there's so much creativity and adventure in children that is being squished. And I've seen it. They'll sit in a room with everything goes when God goes. They shut out the light. They shut out the outside. They want to stay up late. They want to eat bad food. They just stay on the screen. And they don't want to relate to people. And people become an interruption. But when you're with God, if you're reading the Bible and praying, nobody's an interruption. You are still totally available. And so the things that you do are so interesting and exciting because, we will go in the bush and we look for what did God create red, and just sort of singing and saying our Bible text and getting them to learn a Bible text each day and write it in their little prayer book. And then they have someone that they're praying for, and so a space where they can find out what's happening in that person's life and have to be involved and interested in someone outside themselves, because children are inclined to be just about me, which adults are too, but and then you have a place of thanks, because we're not thankful in us, we're complainers and things. And then they do a drawing on the other side. I can show you his book if you want me to.
Oh, yeah, pretty cool.
And so they love to be with you. So you have all this opportunity to guide it to good and not lead it to bad. Like if you say you're a mother and you say, let's go and help the lady next door. She's old and she needs our help. And the joy that they can find in those things is then showing them that the way of God is the truth and it's leading to life. And this is what we would call, it's this upside down kingdom where God's saying the opposite of what we think.
It's true, yeah.
And it's just so beautiful because that's where life is. And as we walk with him and we learn things along the way. And that's the same with children. You can't teach them everything at once.
You're patient.
Yeah, there's lots of things that you just bypass, like Jesus did with the disciples. And just one thing at a time, where saying, how about this? How about we try this? With children is that never can you use coercion, force, manipulation. You've got to stick with God's ways. With you, for yourself, you have total no compromise on your convictions. And if they go and say, we're going to play games, I said, yes, that's fine, but Grandma will never play those games because they're against God's kingdom. They're competition. And I've seen what happens to people's hearts and minds when they play those games. They want to win and they get angry. I said, I won't play those games, but I will do origami with you, and I will do those other things. And if you want to do those things, that's fine, but I won't. And so
it's staying strong in your values.
It's you being strong, but not judgment. Just this is why I don't, but your choice is your choice.
Yeah, I think a lot of parents probably just, if they don't agree with something, they just say no.
Yeah, it's God allows us within the safety and love of His environment to actually learn the consequences of sin.
Yeah. Did you have a lot of support when you were a young mum from your mum as well?
No, she had 13 children, and she went through a nervous breakdown at that stage. And
where were you in the line?
Number 6 girl.
Okay.
So she was actually really busy with younger ones at that stage, and she had a nervous breakdown. So I didn't have any support because we lived down at Chindera by the river, and I didn't know anyone there, and I couldn't drive. And it just had the main highway just out in front of our place, so you couldn't even walk anywhere much. But yeah, I guess in a way it was good because I would just we grew some veggies on that plot, and just a simple life. People don't realise that if your life is quiet and if it's simple, it's the best place for God to reach your heart. And I don't have anything going. I just talk to God. I have my Bible open and memorize, and God can impress, because if in all your ways acknowledge Him, He can direct your path. And people say, oh, how do you know that's what God wants? I said, I know. I don't listen to any other voices. So we can have a much deeper relationship with God if we're willing in the stillness and in the quiet. I had 4 children, nice home, enough money. I was surfing. I just wanted to die. I just didn't find that life was in all those places. And so that's when I decided that I would just talk to God. And then I decided to only read the Bible in Ellen White, not even read the record or anything else. Just the Bible in Ellen White. For a year, I was going to do that. And then after that year, I actually didn't want to read anything else, because every time I picked up a book about the Bible, it was so shallow and lacked so much depth and beauty, because the Bible has all these layers and it's so beautiful. And during that time, I did so many word study. I love doing word studies.
You mentioned a little bit before you were living in Coogin in a nice house and you were surfing, but you didn't want to live. What was the turnaround point from that? Did you have people who were like really pouring into you or praying for you?
No, I actually had no mentors. Everybody around me was watching TV and living the so-called Adventist lifestyle, because it was Gold Coast lifestyle. It wasn't, I'm sure there's other places that have the more conservative lifestyle. But I wasn't looking for a conservative lifestyle. I was looking for love. And no person can feel that need for love. And we do have a lot of warped thinking about love because of movies and things like that. And we're totally so wrecked by that no one could please us and no one could be good enough. And because what we expect from it is just out of this world, and that's why only someone out of this world could supply that need. And so I just sat there. I had some sleeping pills, and I was looking out the window, and I said, there's no victory. And I hate sin. I hate being bound to doing the wrong things, to reading novels and eating junk food and going on a binge with that, and then having to race around and get my housework done, and going to church, but I would rather be watching a soapy. And so it was so much confusion in that place. And then I sat there and I said, if you exist, you need to help me. And it's either this or you, because I can't go on how I am. I just can't pretend. I'm sort of not a hypocrite type person. I just have to be me. And my mother used to say things to me like, if you just smile, if you just do this, and I'm going, but I'm not happy. She wanted me to pretend. So her sort of idea of what I should be would fit. And I didn't ever fit her. I never did my whole life. And because I just like to surf and play rugby and do all the things that she didn't think girls should do. And anyway, so I got so confused and God said, just talk to me. So I started out just talking to him in the morning and in the evening. I didn't read the Bible because I was too condemned by it. I just feel like I can't live up to this. And so I said, don't read it. Just pray, just talk to me. So I did. I remember walking down this hill and I said to God, I just can't please anyone. I just try so hard. I try and get everything done, so please call me. Notice that the skirting birds weren't dusted or something. I wouldn't get it right or I'd miss something. And his parents were very hard on me and they lived with us. And I said, I just can't please anyone. I try, but I can't. And I'm walking down the hill, coming down to the dam because it was a place where I hid. I'd sit on the rocks near the dam and I'd talk to God. And I'd go there early in the morning. And he said, this is the only time I've heard him speak out loud. He said, Jill, I'm pleased with you. I said, how can it be? I get everything wrong. He said, I'm pleased with you.
Sweet.
And so that was the beginning of being okay with anything. I could then read all the other stuff, see where I was wrong, and know that he loved me and he would bring change in his time. That the most important thing I had to learn was to love him and feel loved. Change was an extra blessing, and because I wanted the change more than I wanted him, it had to be a little bit of time. Like Abraham wanted a son more than he wanted God, so it had to be a little bit of time. And eventually he had to sacrifice that son, because when God said, I'm your exceeding great reward, he said, but I don't have a son. You notice that in Genesis 15? Yeah. So when I talk to people who are Adventists, a lot of people do talk to me, they said, but I just can't overcome this, and I need to overcome this. And I said, just don't worry about it. You know, your job isn't to overcome. Your job is to give him access.
Give him access.
Just give him access. Just give him access. And spend time. Just get to love him. Because he's got to take you from a merchandising person to love. And so if you merchandise this good work and that good work, you haven't changed. You want to get to heaven. You want to be righteous. You want to have the fruits of the Spirit. But you don't want him. And that's what he's got to teach you, where you just want him. And then he can flow things into your life, and, you know, the things that he just took those things out of my life. With his stripes, I am healed. But it's just a constant present tense, that verse. With his stripes, we are healed. So it's a constant present tense that you have to dwell in the healing. If you leave the healing, you won't be healed. And this is what people get wrong. I'll go and have worship. And then they go, why did I go and have worship? Then I was kicking my sister by 2 o'clock. You know, I said, you didn't stay there. You didn't stay there. And it's not horrible to stay there. It's really beautiful to stay there. So in that place, he taught me this really amazing thing. And it's really good to teach it to your children. It's intensive care.
Intensive care, what do you mean?
Intensive care, you know how somebody who's really sick needs intensive care? So they have their own nurse all the time. Well,
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
and so it's being with him all the time, and whatever tools you used for that would be fine. But these are my tools. These are the tools he taught me. I sing, then I pray, then I learn a Bible text, and then I think of somebody who needs that Bible text, and I might write a little song for them, or I'm always in communication. Praying without ceasing, but in lots of different ways all through the day. Have a Bible open there, or in there, I've got it here. And if I was in the car back then, I'd have a Bible open on the seat, I'd get a red light,
Read it.
and I'd get a text, and then I'd learn that Bible text. You can learn the Bible text today, and you know that I now have memorized most of the New Testament and a lot of the Old. Because if you learn a Bible text today, that's 365 in a year.
Yeah, it's true, yeah.
And you get the Bible in there, and then when people are saying things in Sabbath school, I go, that's there, and I know the surrounding text, and it gives you this really background of truth.
Yeah.
It's just really, really nice. And if you get your children every day teaching them a Bible text where you teach them a little song, like we do little songs like love your enemies, turn the other cheek, go the extra mile, give your cloak, or so what's the one I did? I've got the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, the helmet of salvation. So we have all these little ones, and then if they were being mean to each other, we had this little Ellen White quote: we should accustom ourselves to speak in pleasant tones, to use pure and correct language. And it was just like, that makes them laugh.
Yeah.
And so it's a joyful learning. If childhood isn't joyful, it's not of God. God wants our homes to be heavenly. And people have used conservativeness to be a rod. And people have moved away from it.
Yeah.
But there's another way. There's a way of love where you are taking out the bad to protect them for a time. That is always that tree in the garden to give them a toys.
Yeah.
In Isaiah 55, if you've got to go, it's okay.
Yeah.
In Isaiah 55, that's a beautiful one to learn by heart. If you go through, it's good to do this in Hebrews as well.
Chapter.
It's good to do this in Hebrews as well. Write down what God does, who He is. Like He's the author, you're the book. He's the, He's the builder, you're the house. And it's learning, what is my role?
Yeah.
And if you go through Isaiah 55, that's so amazing. It's the whole gospel in Isaiah 55. And it tells you where you need to be. Because it says, come unto me, all ye that are thirsty. You know that one? And so you're coming.
Yeah.
And you're hearing.
Yeah.
And so you go through the order that they're in.
Yeah, it's such a good chapter.
Yeah, you go through, what is the order? Because you're coming and you're hearing and you're hearkening diligently. And the most amazing thing it says, incline your ear and come unto me. Here, guess what it says after that? And your soul shall live.
There you go.
Your soul, let your soul delight itself in fatness. And then it says seek. Seek ye the Lord while it may be found, call ye upon him while he is near. But then guess what it says? After you've done all that, forsake. That's when it says forsake.
Yeah.
Well, it's got all this relationship stuff. It says forsake your ways and your thoughts, because they're just wicked.
Yeah.
Let the wicked forsake his ways and the unrighteous man his thoughts. So there's thoughts and ways that are damaging you. And then he's so amazing, because he says, even the trees are going to clap their hands. Instead of this thorn of cares of this life and deceitfulness of riches and the deceitfulness of pleasure, you're going to be a fir tree, a beautiful evergreen. And instead of a briar, which is prickly, you're going to be a myrtle, which is beautiful. Myrtle trees are so colourful and so beautiful. And it says that the one section that I really love, he promises that he'll make an everlasting covenant with you, even the sure mercies of David. And it says that I have given him for a witness to the people. So it's sort of saying how to be a witness. Like, people think of all these ways of how to be a witness, and it's coming. It's coming and hearing. Yeah, that's how you be a witness, because you can only witness to what you know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and it needs to be really God flowing through your life to other people.
Yeah,
because this lady in Sunday school, she said, how can I love God with all my heart and all my soul and all my mind and all my strength? So that's really easy. He's not asking you to love him with all his heart.
Yeah.
He's asking you to love with your heart. Your heart is flawed.
Yeah.
It's sinful. It's horrible. But he's only asking you to give it all. And then when your neighbour gets loved, it's not you. If it's you, it'll be flawed. You just give all to him. He flows through your life to your neighbour, and then it's something good.
Yeah.
And you're not out of the picture, because it's as yourself. Once you're in that place, because a drunk will give other people alcohol. People who eat bad food will give people bad food.
Yeah.
So you've got to give it all to God first before you can possibly love your neighbour, because God will flow that love through you to them, and it will be good.
Yeah.
So the commandments are really easy.
Yeah. Love it. Full of wisdom. All right. Can I ask you a few more questions?
Yeah.
You mentioned, obviously, you've got asthma and you're inside a lot. What are you enjoying about motherhood and being a grandma in this season?
I think that because when you have God in your heart, you really love them. I think I really love this space of not being busy. That I'm not busy. I have time to invest in them. And so probably that would be the biggest thing, that as a grandmother you have time to invest in them. And I haven't got my own stuff, like everything else has been stripped away. I can't go surfing. I never like shopping anyway, but I can't go shopping. I can't go out. I can't visit people. So the people that come in to my bubble are very special. So that's where God can flow through me. So it's really fun when God flows through you, because you get to see him. So little Amber comes in, or Asha comes in, Heather comes in crying about something, or even your children have issues. Well, they might be in their 50s, but they have issues. And like Jackie was cleaning today, and she was really lonely. So she talked to me on the phone while she was doing all the cleaning of this whole house. And it's having that time to really invest in people and seeing what's really important.
How has it been seeing your own children have children of your own?
It really was good for me having Nana and Granddad be so awful to me. Because if my kids were in the bath and I was cooking dinner, I wasn't watching them. If I was watching them, I wasn't cooking dinner, and why wasn't I cooking a good dinner? So everything was judged. And so now my kids do things, and my daughters-in-laws, I just love them. I don't try and project anything they should be, because God never did that to me. And so it's just nice to have, you know how it says in James to ask of God wisdom? Wisdom is a precious thing. To have, to be able to, my goal was never to hurt people, but to just not hurt them. To be able to hold back, be interested in them and where they're at and what's happening with them. And maybe sometimes, like, because I've got grandchildren that don't believe in God at all, maybe sometimes showing them a little song you wrote, because they like music, and I'll have some little message in there about God.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Love it. If you enjoyed this episode of Signs Radio, don't forget to leave us a review or a rating on the podcasting app of your choice. You can read this interview and see the faces and photos of these women on signsmag.com.